5 reasons why you can't stay in shape. It's frustrating, isn't it? Seeing yourself making progress, seeing yourself moving towards your goals, but then never being able to stay there, always ending up back to where you started. Because maybe you've seen progress before, but you never get to hold on to it. And at this point, you've probably tried everything under the sun, but it just, no matter what you do, you're never able to stay in shape. You can get close, maybe you haven't ever got quite to where you wanted to, but you just never to be able to stay there, always ending up back to where you started. So I want to share with you 5 reasons why that might be happening. And I'm going to give you little ideas on what you can do instead to try and get over it. Because if you can deal with these 5 reasons, you'll be able to get into the shape you want, but stay there. That's the most important part, right? So number 1 is being too strict, being too restrictive, cutting out too many things, going to too many extremes, or following fads and doing all these types of things. They might seem like a great idea at the start, and this happens a lot, I suppose, due to misinformation and also as well due to wanting to see quick results, wanting to see lots of progress in the beginning and just kind of thinking that that's what we have to do in order to get into shape. The problem with being too strict is that it's harder to maintain, it's harder to keep up. It also means you're taking away the enjoyment factor and the longevity factor, because it's not about giving things up, it's about doing things less often. So to avoid the too strict thing or going too extreme, we have to look at it and ask a couple of really sensible questions like, can I see myself doing this in 6 months' time? Is this something that I can see myself doing consistently and repeatedly? Because when we look at it from that angle, we're going to set ourselves up slightly differently, and it's going to be more likely that we're going to stay the course. So that's number 1. Number 2 is habits, or a lack of a focus on the habits. Massive thing. Habits are essentially like the foundation of your house, okay? So you can build a house without foundations, but that house eventually will just fall down. So trying to get into better shape without focusing on the habits, you can see results, right? You've probably done this before, right? You've seen progress, but you never seem to be able to keep it. Well, you probably haven't built the habits to be able to do it, because without those habits, you can get results, but you'll never be able to keep them. So we have to have that focus, and the habits, they're so simple. They're the day-to-day things, you know, planning your meals, planning your week, being more organized with your food, regular exercise, keeping your activity levels high, enough water, regular bedtime. This is something that is one of the massive focuses of our group Shape Up, both the in-person one and our online program. So we help our members build the habits, we help them keep focused on the habits, because that, as I said, is like the foundation of the house, and without that foundation, it will eventually come crumbling down. So, number 3, environment. Your environment conflicts your goals. So many people's biggest struggle with trying to get into shape is that their environment completely conflicts with their goals. So they're constantly having to rely on willpower and motivation and kind of gritting their teeth. Do you ever feel like that? Has that ever felt like that for you, where you're always feeling like you're fighting against your environment? It's completely going against what you're trying to achieve. So if your environment conflicts with your goals, you will always struggle to maintain your results or to stay in shape, because you'll just be sucked back into that environment, and the environment influences what you do on a day-to-day basis. It influences everything you can. So much stuff you can't even see with your environment, how much of an influence it's actually having. So our environment has to be set up to, as much as possible, to be in alignment with the goals that we're trying to achieve and with the type of person that we're trying to be. Number 4 is focusing on the wrong reasons. This is a massive one, and this one is such a big decider in whether or not someone will be able to keep going and hold on to their results. So what do I mean by focusing on the wrong reasons? I'll take a really obvious example: losing weight. People always focusing on losing weight, or always focusing on the scales as their motivator or as their reason for doing it. Look, if that worked, you'd have already done it, been there, hold on to it, and you'd be where you want to be, wouldn't you? Because it's the mistake that everybody makes. They're too focused on that narrow frame, on that one thing that isn't really that motivating or that important. But there's another side to that that's a vicious side to it, is that if we're too focused on the scales or the results, right? then that tends to affect our desire, motivation. We get disheartened too easily. I see it all the time. People hopping on and off the scales and they're just getting upset and pissed off about it because expectations and what the scale says don't match. The scales is also unpredictable. You can never predict the results. You can only predict or put effort into what you do and the actions you do on a day-to-day basis. But hopping on and off that thing is going to cause so much trouble that ultimately leads to people stopping trying and not putting in the effort anymore. That's just one example, but in general, just having a focus on the wrong reasons for doing things is never going to be able to get you to stay the course. It might get you started, like for example, you've got an event coming up that you want to try and get in better shape for. That might get your ass in gear, or like your summer body when it's nearly time for summer and all of a sudden the deadline's looming closer and you're like, fuck, I need to do something about this. But that's never going to get you to stay and maintain it and stay in shape. So you're always going to be in this vicious cycle of going on and off. So focusing on the wrong reasons gets people in trouble. So what do we do instead? We focus on the right reasons. There has to be deeper reasons, like the real reasons why you're doing this. Maybe it's to set a better example for your children. Maybe it's to live longer for your grandchildren. Maybe it's to just feel proud of yourself and feel like you're on top of things. Feel happier in yourself across the board. Maybe you're trying to have a healthier relationship with yourself, with your food, with your exercise, whatever it might be. But by digging down, there's a great thing called the 5 whys, where you have your goal and then you ask, why is that important to me? And then you ask it 5 more times. For every answer, you ask it again until you've asked it 5 times. Powerful, powerful stuff. But focusing on the right reasons is going to be the thing that helps you stay the course and stay in shape, or keep the results that you get. And number 5, huge one, not having the right support. This is one reason why so many people struggle. And maybe you can relate to this one as well. You've tried a million different things. You've been to the different slimming clubs. You've tried these different boot camps and you've gone to the classes in the local gym and you're able to see a bit of result and a bit of progress, but you never have that right support. You've never had that support there that you need when it really matters, right? You know, when you're having a terrible day, there's someone that actually reaches out to check in on you. When you're in a community of really like-minded people that are on the same kind of mission, and it just makes it that much easier seeing other people going through the same thing that you're going through on a day-to-day basis. But this stops so many when they don't have the right support, and it's something that we are massively focused on in Shape Up. It's been one of my massive goals since I ever created the program, was to build this community and this environment that is just all about the support for the members, that helps them get the result but also keep the result. This is the massive thing. This also leads back to your environment, because when you're on a really good program, you're in the right environment because you've got coaches that care, that actually check in on you, that go out of their way to send you a text message and say, hey, how are you? Or if you didn't show up to your workouts, they'd be like, hey, how come you weren't at your workouts today? Or if you did something really well, they're going to be like fucking celebrating your win and acknowledging the progress you made, trying to build you up and build your confidence. But that feeling of knowing you've always got somebody there. And then you've got the community. See, when you're in a community with women that are really similar to you, it's so much easier because everybody's in the same boat. And this is what I've always been trying to create with this program, because not only does it help you and encourage you when they get on with each other, so they help build bonds. So the more bonded together you are with the other people in the program, the easier it is for you to keep your results and stay the course. But also, it eliminates excuses, because if you've got your friend over here who is a mum too, and she's got 3 kids and she works full time and she's doing it and you can see that she's doing it, it makes you question that excuse in your head that goes, well, blah, 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 right? So that's another massive element of it, but it's primarily the community focus, the support focus, and having that sense, that feeling of knowing that you've always got somebody there that can help you through it, because ultimately that's the trickiest part, right? Isn't it? The hardest part is sticking at it. The hardest part is when things aren't going to plan. The hardest part is when your head is all over the place, or when you're stressed, or when you're really struggling and it's just bomb. Everything feels like it's falling apart. That is when true support really shows up, because when you've got that, you get over those hurdles and you keep going, which means not only do you get the results, but you stay in shape. So before I go, if you've managed to watch this all the way to the end, you've watched 10 minutes of a video, which is incredible. To be able to do that online, massive. I think you might need my help. So what I want you to do is send me a direct message, send me a private message, whatever. But get in touch, let me help you.